While I was at a work conference, my girlfriend texted, "Just a heads up, I told everyone we're taking a break." She announced our breakup to friends without telling me first, then told me to relax, it's just temporary. The next day, she posted photos with her ex. I changed our status to single at her sister's wedding. What I did next made her cry. My phone buzzed halfway through a presentation that could have landed me the biggest client of my career. It was 2:17 p.m. on a Thursday in Dallas, and I was standing in front of 30 suits from a national logistics firm, pitching my company's new software. The timing couldn't have been worse, so I ignored it. I didn't check until the break an hour later. The text was from my girlfriend, Kara. We'd been together 2 years, living in my apartment for 14 months. I opened it expecting something casual, maybe a good luck or miss you. Instead, it said, "Hey, just a heads up. I told everyone we're taking a break. Didn't want you blindsided if people ask. LOL. We'll talk when you're back Sunday. My sister's wedding is Saturday, so I'll be super busy." I read it 3 times, slowly. Not "I think we should take a break." Not "Can we talk about taking a break?" Just "I told everyone." Like it was already a done deal. Past tense. Finished. My stomach dropped. Everyone. Her friends. Her family. Probably her sister, the bride-to-be. And this wedding wasn't some casual family barbecue. Kara had been maid of honor for over a year. Every vendor, every decoration, every meltdown. She'd been knee-deep in it. And now, apparently, I wasn't her boyfriend. Just benched. Publicly. I stared at my phone for what felt like forever, then typed back the calmest response I could manage. "Thanks for letting me know." That was it. No fight. No questions. Just those 5 words. Then I sat alone in the hotel bar for 2 hours. Ordered a whiskey. Then another. Then one more. Every sip burned like the end of something I hadn't seen coming. We hadn't been perfect. Sure. Kara had been distant lately, always on her phone, getting defensive if I asked who she was texting. But I hadn't expected this. By the time I got back to my room, I was shaking. Not from anger, but from clarity. She wanted space? Fine. She wanted a break? She could have a full stop. I opened Facebook, logged in, and changed my relationship status from "in a relationship" to "single." I didn't make a big post. I didn't tag her. I just clicked Save Changes and let the algorithm do its thing. And while it processed that decision, that small, silent detonation, I Googled something I should have looked up months ago. Do live-in girlfriends have tenant rights if they're not on the lease? Turns out they don't. No lease. No rent payments directly to the landlord. No written agreement. In Texas law, that made her a guest, not a tenant. Meaning, legally, I could ask her to leave whenever I wanted. My pulse slowed as I read the article twice over. I wasn't just heartbroken anymore, I was cold, controlled, done. The next morning, I called my landlord. "Hey, just a question. My girlfriend's been staying with me, but she's not on the lease. If we break up, how does that work legally?" He didn't even hesitate. "She paying me rent?" "No, then she's a guest. You want her gone. Tell her. If she refuses, it's trespassing." That was all I needed. By the time my flight home landed Saturday morning, I'd already decided. She wanted to tell people we were on a break. I tell the truth, we were done. I got home, walked into our apartment, my apartment, and started packing her things. Every single item. Her ridiculous throw pillows, her bath bombs, the $200 hair serum she worshipped. For hours later, everything was in boxes lined neatly by the door. Then I called a locksmith. $190 and a new deadbolt later, I sat on my couch, pillow-free for the first time in months, and waited. When Kara came home that night, at exactly 8:43 p.m., I heard her key scrape uselessly in the lock. Then again. Then pounding. "Hey, my key isn't working," she yelled through the door. I opened it, just the chain latch holding it in place. Her eyes lit up in instant confusion. "Something's wrong with my key." "I changed the locks," I said. She blinked, then laughed. "What? Why would you do that?" I looked her dead in the eye. "You told everyone we were taking a break. I'm making it permanent." Her smile faltered. What are you talking about? That's not. But I cut her off. Your stuff's packed. You can grab it now. And as she stood there, half stunned, half raging, I felt something inside me harden. She thought she was playing a game, but she didn't know I was done playing. And that was just the beginning. Kara and I met in Austin at a tech mixer neither of us wanted to be at. I was there because my boss said networking is essential. And she was there because her sister, Leah, had dragged her out of the house after a breakup. She was funny, sharp. She had that kind of smile that makes you forget your train of thought. We talked over cheap beer for hours. 2 weeks later, we were inseparable. At first, she was everything I thought I wanted. Warm, spontaneous, always laughing. She'd leave little notes in my car, pack snacks for my long workdays, stay up late just to hear how my presentation went. We moved fast. Too fast. Within 6 months, she had a drawer in my apartment. By 9 months, half her stuff was here. After a year, she practically lived with me. I didn't mind. She was comfortable, familiar. But comfort can be deceptive, it can hide rot. The first cracks showed small. She'd get defensive about her phone. Said she needed privacy. When I asked why she suddenly had it flipped face down all the time, she'd start fights over things that didn't exist. One night, I came home to her crying on the couch because I hadn't texted her during lunch. She accused me of losing interest, of emotionally checking out. But if I texted too much, she said I was suffocating her. There was no right balance anymore. Still, I kept trying. I'd make dinner, plan dates, leave her alone when she said she needed space. She'd swing back into affection, all apologies and soft touches, then just as suddenly turn cold again. It was like living with someone who kept switching masks. Then came Leah's wedding. That event consumed Kara. It wasn't just planning, it was obsession. Dress fittings, vendor calls, group chats that never ended. She started spending every weekend at her parents' place, helping with wedding stuff. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She'd earned my trust, even if she didn't deserve it anymore. The weekend before my work trip, she was off again, claiming Leah needed her for last-minute details. But one night, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the counter. Preview popped up. Text from Ryan. So you'll actually be single for the wedding then? My heart stopped. I didn't touch the phone, didn't scroll, didn't snoop. I just stared at that single message until it faded off the screen. Ryan, her ex, the one she told me about in passing, the one who never meant anything, the one her sister was still friends with, the same guy who was going to be at the wedding. Suddenly it all made sense. The distance, the secrecy, the sudden mood swings. The phone always face down. She was testing something. Maybe testing me. Maybe testing him. I didn't confront her. I wanted to see what she'd do when I wasn't there. That's why that text she sent during my conference didn't surprise me as much as it should have. It wasn't random. It was strategy. She wanted to appear single before the wedding, to walk in unattached, carefree, desirable. She didn't want anyone, especially Ryan, to think she was taken. That's why she said, I told everyone we're taking a break. Not, we should talk. She'd already made her move. She just forgot one detail. I don't play backup to anyone. By the time I finished packing her things that Saturday, I knew exactly who she'd be with that night. And I was right. When she showed up at my door, she was wearing that same red dress she once said Ryan loved. I remember watching her eyes shift from shock to fury to desperation when I told her it was over. The performance cracked for the first time. She said I was overreacting, that it was a misunderstanding. But behind her words, I saw something different. Fear. Not of losing me, but of losing control. Because for the first time in 2 years, she wasn't the one setting the rules. She was about to learn what it felt like when someone else ended the game. The night after I changed the locks, I barely slept. Not because I doubted myself, but because I knew Kara. She wasn't the type to accept a loss quietly. Control was her drug, and I had just cut off her supply cold turkey. By Sunday morning, my phone had turned into a bomb. 38 unread messages. Half angry, half pleading. Some were long paragraphs about what we had and how I misunderstood. Others were rage-fueled. The kind you write through tears and regret 10 minutes later. You can't just do this without talking to me. You're being abusive. I needed space, not an eviction. I'll come by tomorrow and we'll talk like adults. I ignored every one of them. But then her mother called. Then her sister. Then her friends. It was like she'd mobilized an army overnight. I could practically hear Kara's voice behind every text, spinning her version of the story. Her mom. She's devastated. You blindsided her. Her best friend. Real mature. Kicking her out over one message. Her sister. Please don't do this before the wedding. She's barely holding it together. They all had one thing in common. None of them asked what actually happened. They already had the narrative Kara fed them. The cruel boyfriend who threw her out over a miscommunication. By noon, someone knocked. I looked through the peephole. It was Kara's mom, standing with Kara right behind her. Open the door, her mom demanded. You can't lock my daughter out of her home. Not her home, I said through the door. She's lived here over a year. That makes her a tenant. I almost laughed. No lease, no rent payments, no rights. She was a guest. She's been asked to leave. 10 minutes later, they were gone. I thought maybe, just maybe, that would be the end. But Kara wasn't done. At 2 p.m. she texted again. I'm coming to get the rest of my things at 4. I replied. You got everything last night. No, I didn't. I left my jewelry box, sweatshirt, vitamins, straightener. Fine. I checked. She was right. A few items left. I told her 15 minutes. She showed up at 3:28 p.m., not alone. Her mom, her sister, and her best friend marched in like a firing squad. I didn't even step aside. You can have 15 minutes, I said. After that, I'm calling the cops. Her mom rolled her eyes. You need to calm down. You're making a fool of yourself. No, I said. I'm done letting people make decisions for me. Kara stormed to the bedroom, slamming drawers open, grabbing things. Her sister followed, trying to mediate. Meanwhile, her best friend hovered near me, whispering venom. She just wanted space. You're punishing her. I didn't answer. I just watched the clock tick down. At 3:44 p.m., Kara emerged with an armful of stuff and tears in her eyes. This is insane, she said. We can fix this. You're overreacting. No, I said quietly. I'm finally reacting. Her mom tried one last time. You can't throw away 2 years over one bad text. I looked her straight in the eye. Your daughter didn't send a bad text. She sent a broadcast announcement that she was single to her entire family while I was working. She doesn't get to rewrite that. Her sister's voice cracked. My wedding's in 6 days. Please, can't you just pause this until it's over? No, I said. She paused it for me. I'm done. They left in a storm of slammed doors and muttered curses. That night, my phone lit up again. Kara's father this time. You're really going to throw away everything over this? No, I said. I'm throwing away the lie she built. Monday morning, I thought I'd reached the quiet after the storm. I turned my phone off, made coffee, went to work. But peace doesn't last long when someone like Kara feels humiliated. At 9:17 p.m. that night, she texted again. You'll regret this. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. And deep down, I knew she meant it. Because Kara never let anyone walk away without paying for it. Not even me. 3 days after I thought it was over, I learned Kara hadn't just moved on. She was rewriting the story and dragging my name through every corner of her world to do it. It started with a Facebook notification. You've been tagged in a post. It was from Kara. The post read like something ripped from a Lifetime movie. Sometimes people you love the most hurt you in ways you never imagined. I asked for space during a stressful time, and instead I was thrown out of my home, had my locks changed, and was left with nothing but humiliation. I spent my sister's wedding weekend alone while he celebrated his freedom. Please, respect my privacy while I heal from this. The comments exploded within minutes. Her friends calling me an abuser. Her family telling her she deserved better. Old acquaintances chiming in with "men are trash" and "you dodged a bullet, queen." But what hit me hardest wasn't the comments. It was one particular name in the likes, Ryan Cooper, her ex, the same guy whose text I saw on her phone. The one she claimed was barely a friend. And the guy who, apparently, had also been at her sister's wedding. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't post my side. I just took a screenshot, every word, every timestamp, and filed it away, because something about it felt strategic. Like she wasn't just venting. She was setting up a narrative. That night, I got a message request on Facebook from someone I didn't recognize. "Hey man, this is Ryan, Kara's ex. I think we need to talk." I stared at it for a long minute before accepting. "What's this about?" "Look, this is awkward. Kara cornered me at Leah's wedding. She told me you guys were on a break. Said you'd both decided to take some time. But she also kept saying how she missed what we had. She was touchy, kept reminiscing. My fiancé was right there. My blood went cold. She told me you were back together." "No," Ryan replied. "She told everyone you two were working things out. But man, it didn't look like that. She was all over the place. Drunk, crying, telling my fiancé she'd made a mistake letting me go. Leah had to pull her away twice. I thought you should know." That was the moment everything clicked into place. Kara hadn't taken a break to breathe. She'd taken it to test the waters, to see if Ryan still wanted her. She hadn't just humiliated me. She'd turned the wedding, her own sister's wedding, into a stage for a one-woman redemption show that no one asked to watch. And it got worse. Ryan told me his fiancée had left the reception crying because Kara told her, "He and I were never really over. You should probably ask him what we did last summer." That's when I realized Kara didn't want Ryan back. She just didn't want him to be happy without her. Every bit of chaos she'd caused, the break, the Facebook pity post, the endless calls, all of it was part of a single game. Make sure no one moved on before she did. The next morning, her sister Leah called me, furious. "What the hell happened? Kara destroyed my wedding." She was sobbing in half the pictures, flirting with Ryan in front of his fiancée, and now my photographer wants extra money to edit her face out of shots. "You two are paying for it." "I wasn't there," I said. "Talk to your maid of honor. She said you dumped her to hurt her before the wedding." "No. She dumped me so she could chase her ex at your wedding. I just made it official." Silence on her end. Then a quiet, "Oh my God." Before she hung up, by noon I had another text from Kara. "I hope you're happy. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Ryan thinks I'm crazy, Leah hates me, and my parents blame me for all of it. This is all your fault." I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because buried in that message was the truth she'd been trying to hide since the beginning. She wasn't heartbroken. She was angry that her manipulation didn't work. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered out of instinct. "You think you can just ruin my life and move on?" Kara's voice, raw and shaking. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone I know. You turned people against me." I didn't even raise my voice. "No, Kara. You did that all by yourself. You'll regret this," she whispered. Click. I set my phone down, exhaled slowly, and stared at the dark screen. I thought that was her final threat. I had no idea what was coming next, because Kara wasn't just angry. She was unraveling, and I was about to find out just how dangerous that could be. When the panic settled into the apartment, when the door was locked again, the boxes stacked, the whiskey gone, I realized I hadn't actually done anything brave. I changed a status, packed a bag, changed a lock. Those were immediate, emotional moves. They felt decisive, but they weren't the endgame. Kara was a machine that manufactured chaos. She didn't stop at melodrama. She escalated. She weaponized sympathy, narrative, and proximity. If I wanted this to end, I had to be surgical. First thing, evidence. The night at the hotel bar was cathartic, but catharsis doesn't win legal battles. I pulled up every piece of digital proof I had, the text timestamp from her break message, the Facebook notification showing the post she made, screenshots of the comments, the timestamped email exchange with my landlord. I texted him and asked about guest law and saved his reply, and the conference itinerary proving I was presenting when she sent that message. I copied them into a folder and backed it up to the cloud. I printed hard copies and slid them into a manila folder I labeled Kara. Evidence. Next, surveillance. The apartment already had a nondescript doorbell camera I'd installed for packages. I synced the recordings from the night she returned, from the day she wouldn't leave, and from the night she tried an old key. Every frame showing her pounding the door, the angle of her hand on the knob, the timestamps. None of that was theatrics. It was documentary. I burned copies to a thumb drive. If she wanted to make a scene, I'd let the courthouse see the receipts of that scene. Then I called a friend who was a lawyer. I didn't want drama. I wanted options. He listened without judgment and then gave me a short list. File for a restraining order if she continued to trespass or harass. Document every contact. Don't engage emotionally in public forums. Don't retaliate online. He warned about countersuits. Women like Kara could spin a narrative quickly and involve bad lawyers who would file wild claims just to intimidate. He suggested I consult a local attorney to draw a line under any potential legal exposure and to prepare for the usual smear attempts. I liked the idea of a line. I'm not litigious by nature, but I am rational. If a person persists in breaking into my home, threatening me, and dragging me through public humiliation while trying to cozy back up to her ex, I'll use the legal tools available. So I scheduled a consult. While all of that was practical, I knew her weapon was emotional theater. She knew how to stand in a room and make people pity her, and pity was a loud echo chamber. So I started preemptively cutting off the oxygen that let her narrative grow. I messaged 2 people first, quietly and plainly, Leah, the bride, and Ryan's fiancé. Not to beg forgiveness or explain endlessly, but to provide facts. I wasn't at the wedding. I received a text during work announcing a break. I changed the locks when she refused to leave and repeatedly trespassed. I had footage. I didn't plead. I offered clarity, and I attached a single screenshot that proved the timeline. I also called my landlord and told him, calmly, that an ex-girlfriend had been staying as a guest, that she was attempting to return, and asked him to be prepared to confirm whether she was on the lease if anyone called. Paperwork and witnesses are boring but lethal in a courtroom and in small-town gossip. Most importantly, I prepared for the inevitable. She'd file a claim, demand letter, lawsuit, whatever. I mentally walked through each of her likely attacks: illegal eviction, emotional distress, stolen property, abandonment. For each, I collected a counter. Lease documents, bank transfers showing no rent paid to the landlord by her. Text threads proving I offered to let her collect any overlooked items. Timestamps from the locksmith receipt proving when locks were changed, and witness statements from neighbors who heard the disturbance the night she camped on my porch. There was also a something darker that made me plan beyond legalities, a defensive move of human decency. The last thing I wanted was to become the caricature she painted on social media. So I composed a short, unemotional response that I would send to anyone who asked. We had a disagreement. She announced a break while I was at work. I asked her to leave when she refused to discuss it, and she left with her things. I have evidence and have sought legal counsel due to harassment. It was boring, bland, and unshareable in the way stories need to be to deflate drama. I practiced saying it out loud until it stopped feeling like a statement and started feeling like armor. Finally, there was the one move that felt like the first real retaliation: quiet, procedural, and final. The lawyer advised filing for a protection order given the trespass and the attempted break-in. It wasn't vindictive. It was sensible. She had proven she wouldn't respect boundaries. The protection order would not only protect me, but it would also make documented misconduct part of the public record if she decided to drag me into court with a bogus claim. That record would make it much harder for her to get traction with domestic violence narratives that lack corroboration. I filed the paperwork that week. It felt small and clinical, an official stamp, a clerk's signature, but it changed the dynamics. I wasn't reacting emotionally anymore. I had stepped off the stage she wanted and into a courtroom she couldn't control with performance. She could scream to friends and cry on glossy wedding photos until the ink blurred. But the law required evidence, not theatrics. I slept the sweetest the night after the petition was filed. Not because I thought the battle was over, far from it, but because I'd stopped letting her define the rules. I traded chaos for process. I'd taken the only kind of revenge that mattered. I made her loss of control permanent. She hadn't broken me. She'd revealed herself. Now, I would let the system do what it does best. Sort the actors from the victims. The restraining order hearing was supposed to be the final chapter. In my head, I'd already rehearsed it. She'd show up teary-eyed. I'd present the evidence. The judge would grant the order, and that would be that. But life with Kara was never linear. It twisted like barbed wire. It started the night before the hearing. I was watching a game, half zoned out, when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. "You don't have to do this," the message read. "Please, let's just talk before court. I can fix everything." I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, another text. "I know something about you, Liam. You think you're safe behind paperwork. But I know what you did at work. I can ruin you too." That got my attention. She wasn't bluffing this time. Back when we were together, Kara had pushed me to share everything. My work stresses, office politics, even confidential projects I wasn't supposed to mention. She'd always said she wanted to understand my world. I didn't realize she was storing ammunition. I scrolled further. She'd sent a photo and email screenshot. My email. A client presentation draft I'd worked on weeks before the official release. Company property. She'd taken the photo while I was asleep one night, the laptop still open on my desk. It was dated, time-stamped, clear as day. My stomach twisted. If she sent that to my employer, they could claim breach of confidentiality. My whole career could blow up before I even set foot in court. I called my lawyer immediately. He was calm, clinical, unfazed. "That's blackmail, Liam. Don't engage. Keep every message. We'll present it tomorrow if needed." But I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying all the ways she could have weaponized my trust. How every piece of intimacy we shared, every late-night story, every vent about my coworkers, was a potential bullet she could load into her chamber. The next morning, I arrived at the courthouse 30 minutes early. She was already there. Alone this time. No mom. No sister. No best friend. Just Kara. Sitting on the bench outside the courtroom, wearing that same red dress she'd worn the night she came home to the changed locks. Her eyes were hollowed out. No mascara, no pretense. When the judge called our names, we both stood. I kept my eyes forward. My lawyer spoke first, laid out the video footage, the texts, the attempted entry, the police reports. Then Kara's lawyer started talking. I braced for a sob story. Instead, he said something that made the entire room go still. "Your Honor, my client would like to submit evidence that Mr. Holt," he nodded toward me, "engaged in unethical behavior at his workplace and threatened to release private communications should my client not comply with his demands." My heart stopped. He actually said it. The twist of the knife. She told her lawyer I was blackmailing her, that I'd threatened to leak private messages if she didn't stay away. I felt the blood drain from my face. My lawyer stood up immediately. "Your Honor, this is a transparent attempt to deflect from the actual case. We have screenshots of the opposite. Her threatening to expose confidential work material as leverage." The judge raised a hand. "Do you have that evidence now?" We did. We showed the text thread, the timestamp, her number, the photo of my company document. The judge's eyes narrowed as he read. "Ms. Brooks," he said slowly, "this is extortion. Are you aware of that?" Kara didn't speak. Her lips trembled. For a moment, I almost saw the person I used to love, the one who looked small and scared and human. But then her lawyer leaned toward her, whispering, and she shook her head violently. "He's lying," she said. "He doctored those texts. He's manipulating this. He's always—" The judge cut her off. "That's enough. You're under oath and I have the metadata on these files. They're authentic." Silence. The courtroom could have been a vacuum. Then the judge said something I didn't expect. "Mr. Holt, based on what I've seen, you're entitled to a restraining order. But Ms. Brooks, you need to understand something. You are on the edge of criminal behavior. If you send one more message to this man or his employer, I will refer this case to the district attorney. Do you understand me? Kara didn't respond. She just stared at me, like she was trying to memorize my face before everything fell apart. Then she nodded once without emotion. The order was granted. 1 year. No contact. No third-party communication. But here's the twist. That wasn't the last time I saw her. 2 weeks later, I got a call from an unknown number. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. "It's me," she said quietly. "You think you won. You didn't. You only stopped me because I let you. I didn't say a word. You ruined my life, Liam. So I found a way to ruin something of yours too." Click. The next morning, HR called. Someone had sent an anonymous email to my company's compliance department with screenshots. Those same client drafts she'd stolen, but edited to make it look like I'd shared them intentionally. The message said, "This employee has been selling client data for side money. They suspended me pending investigation." That's when I realized the truth. Kara didn't want me back. She wanted me erased. And I was about to find out just how far she was willing to go to make that happen. The company cleared me after 3 days. 3 miserable, sleepless days. The investigation found that the metadata on the screenshots didn't match my device or accounts. They were edited poorly, almost sloppily. The compliance manager said, "Someone went out of their way to make you look guilty." I didn't need to guess who. When I got my job back, my lawyer urged me to leave it alone. "You've got the order," he said. "You're legally covered. Don't poke the wound." But the thing about being publicly humiliated, falsely accused, and almost fired because of someone else's sickness, it changes what leaving it alone means. I didn't want revenge yet. I wanted an answer. Why had she done it? What did she get out of burning down both of our lives? That answer came from an unlikely place. Leah, her sister. It was late on a Wednesday when she texted. "I don't even know why I'm telling you this, but you deserve to know what's really been going on." She called 30 minutes later. Her voice was shaky, exhausted. "Kara's been lying to everyone. She didn't just lose her job because of the wedding mess. She got fired before that." "What?" I asked. "She was using company accounts to funnel money into her personal Venmo. Fake reimbursements. She thought no one would notice, but they did. Her boss was about to report her for fraud. She panicked." I sat down hard on the couch. Fraud, theft, lies. The same word kept repeating in my head. Panic. Leah kept talking. "She thought if she could get you in trouble, she'd look more credible when it all came out. She wanted people to think she wasn't the problem, that you were dragging her down, that you were the one who'd ruined her career." I didn't speak for a long time. My mind was rewinding every moment. The text about the break, the manipulative Facebook post, the fake emails. She wasn't just sabotaging me out of spite. She was trying to rewrite her own collapse. Leah sighed. "She's always been like this, Liam. Everything's someone else's fault." "The ex before you?" She accused him of stealing her laptop when he dumped her. Turned out she sold it herself to pay off a credit card. When Dad cut her off for it, she told everyone he was emotionally abusive. She's been doing this since college, building stories that make her the victim and burn everyone else to ash. She told me once her family never believed her. I said quietly, "Because we learned the hard way not to," Leah whispered. That was the core of it, the horrifying reason. Kara wasn't broken because of love or betrayal. She was addicted to control, and control required casualties. Every relationship, every friendship, every job. She destroyed them before they could expose her. And when the fallout came, she always had a villain ready to blame. And this time I had been the villain she needed. Leah started crying. "She's in therapy now, or says she is, but she still tells everyone you ruined her. That's the story she picked. It's how she survives." After we hung up, I sat there in the dark for a long time, replaying every memory of her. Every smile, every apology, every, "I didn't mean it like that." They all sounded different now. Not emotional, tactical. Kara's cruelty wasn't random. It was calculated self-preservation. She didn't destroy people out of spite. She did it because she needed to be the one left standing, no matter how much blood was on the floor. She didn't love me. She needed me to be her evidence. Proof that she was always the victim, never the cause. Chilled me more than any threat she'd ever made. Because you can defend yourself against anger. You can't defend yourself against someone who rewrites reality to survive. That was her reason. That was her sickness. And once I understood it, I knew exactly how to end it. Not by fighting her, but by removing what she craved most. Tension. She wanted a story. I'd give her silence. The plan wasn't grand or cinematic. It was quiet, surgical, the way truth works when you stop trying to prove it. Because by then, I knew Kara didn't fear exposure. She feared irrelevance. She needed a stage, an audience, a counterweight to her story. She'd drag my name through dirt as long as I kept replying, as long as someone kept watching. So the revenge had to be silence and documentation. The day after Leah's call, I met with my lawyer one last time. We went over everything. The restraining order, the police reports, the company's internal findings that cleared me, the messages from Kara and her threats. He helped me file a simple notice with the court documenting her attempt to impersonate a whistleblower to damage my employment. It wasn't a lawsuit, just a statement, a paper trail. He smiled as he handed me the stamped copy. Paper never argues back, Liam. It just waits for the day it's needed. I took that to heart. Then I blocked every number, every mutual friend, every family member still defending her. I changed my phone number, closed my old social accounts. I told my boss everything, the restraining order, the fake emails, all of it. I thought it would tank my reputation. Instead, my boss shook his head and said, "Good for you for cleaning house." He promoted me 2 months later for how I'd handled it. Cold, clean, efficient. Kara tried one more round of noise before she faded. She made a new Facebook account, posted about how abusers use silence as punishment. Nobody bit. By then, Leah and half her friends had unfriended her. Her old co-workers commented under her post, questions, not sympathy. Didn't you get fired for fraud? Didn't the police show up at your ex's place? The thread disappeared within hours. A week later, she sent an email to my personal inbox from a new address. "I know you think you've won, but you'll miss me. Nobody will ever love you like I did." I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my lawyer, attached it to the restraining order file, and that was that. Then I really went quiet. No posts, no updates. I stopped talking about it even to friends. Kara thrived on reaction. Without it, she withered. By summer, word got around that she'd moved back in with her parents in Waco. She'd lost her job, burned bridges with her friends, and was apparently taking time to focus on herself. Leah told me she refused therapy now, insisting everyone had turned on her because I brainwashed them. But that was her new cage. Living in the same house with parents who'd finally stopped believing her. She'd built her world on manipulation, and now there was no one left to manipulate. As for me, I rebuilt. The apartment became my place again. I took down her photos, sold the couch she loved, replaced the locks one final time. I started seeing someone new months later, a nurse named Madison who had her own apartment, her own bills, her own calm. I told her everything early on, no secrets, no edits. The night I told her, she just nodded and said, "So you chose peace?" "Yeah." That's exactly it. I didn't destroy Kara. I didn't need to. She destroyed herself the moment her story stopped getting applause. That's what people like her can't stand. The stillness after their performance ends. The restraining order expired a year later. I didn't renew it. I didn't need to. She hadn't contacted me in months. When I checked Facebook one last time, her profile was gone. Deactivated. Just silence. I looked around my living room that night, the bare shelves, the quiet. Felt like the first clean breath after years underwater. She once told me during a fight, "I always land on my feet." I guess she forgot. When you keep setting fire to every bridge you cross, eventually there's nowhere left to land. My revenge wasn't loud. It was survival. And it was the one thing she never learned how to do.